man, I hate when the day job gets in the way of the job that I like. But, alas, nothing I can do about that. So here we are now 2 weeks later, and I wanted to pick on a couple of the highlights of the last 2 weeks. So Daryl here, talking metal again, and let's just start out with an album that has very quickly become one of my favorite albums of the year. The new album by the band Ghost, or in North America, technically Ghost BC. The new album is Infestissimum, and this album changed the way I felt about this band. And I know I mentioned that on a previous podcast that I didn't really like their first album as much, but this did something for me where now I want to see them live again. I've watched some videos of them performing new songs, and I talked to a lot of people about the album, and a lot of people pick out a different song that stands out. For me, it was Hvile Zombie Queen, which was my personal favorite. I can't seem to get past it most of the time. But even the first track, which is the title track, and Per Aspera ad Inferi, fucking awesome. Monstrance Clock, awesome. There's a lot of like happy-go-lucky love rock vibes going on in here, and I've played some of the songs for friends, and it just amazes them that this is the same band. So I really think you should get on and take a listen to that album, because even if you didn't like them before, you might like them now. After that, let's talk about Hvile I Kaos, a one-man band from Ohio. Cello. That's all I need to say, cello. And I think it's incredible what he accomplishes with a cello. It's all recorded and layered so well. The new EP just came out, and that one's on Torn Flesh Records. It's a web label, so you can actually check that out at their Bandcamp page. But it's similar in style to an Apocalyptica or something like that. But one guy layering his cello together. It's just really incredible what he does. Some really good driving melodies there. And it's done in somewhat of a black metal style, so a lot of times you get the high-speed riffs, and it's just incredible. It's just incredible, okay? Just fucking accept it. Then I'll tell you that Brian is a big fan of Heaven Shall Burn, which I did not know, and he just absolutely, in the words of someone else, he completely sucked the dick of Heaven Shall Burn on his review for Veto, and it is well-deserved. The album's fucking phenomenal. And I've never really been a fan of theirs, but they're doing something pretty great these days. So definitely check out Vito and check out his review of that. Moving on, I'll say that the album by Shining was somewhat of a disappointment. Their frontman and saxophonist, Jorgen Munkby, is, I think, one of the most intriguing musicians in metal today. He lent his saxophone work to the albums by Isan, and I thought it was great on there, but they're doing what they call black jazz, and it's really extreme metal, but the problem is that it's just lacking some of the lateral movement that you would expect. And the album, to me, felt like just a little too much industrial and a little too little of everything else. Still good, just not what I needed it to be. Moving on from there, two albums this past week that I really wanted to talk about. Amorphis has a new album called Circle, and I will admit right now, and I've admitted this to others who have questioned me about it, the first time I listened to this new album, I was a little bit worried. I actually didn't find myself really immersed in the music. It just didn't strike me that way. There was just something missing, something in the order of the songs where I felt like maybe this just wasn't going to be a good album for me. And after the second and third listen, I went, okay, now I'm getting it. After the fourth and fifth listen, I was hooked. They just never disappoint. They manage to just be so different every time without completely changing. And as I mentioned in the review, an Amorphis song within 10 seconds of it starting. That's Amorphis. And that's what I love about them, is that you can tell that it's them without ever thinking, they just recycled this or whatever. And then the end of the week came the album by The Old Wind. It's called Feast on Your Gone. And this was one that I was a little surprised by. I don't even know how the hell I found this. But it's really, really interesting in that you have really explosive drumming and amazing guitars. But it's just, there's something about it that just pulls you in and just beats you down. I mean, you know damn well listening to this that you could have bruises. You could have bruises on your inner ear by the time you're done, because it's just so heavy-handed, screaming vocals. There's just, it seems like it would be one-dimensional. It seems like it would get boring, but it just doesn't. Because they just, oh my God, they just absolutely pound away at you relentlessly. Without ever being one-dimensional, without ever being just, you know, oh, here you go. It's just, there's always little twists and turns, but it's just pretty incredible. Now, I'm really looking forward to see where they go from here, because I think their next album could be a fucking classic. So, I mean, that kind of catches up on some of the real highlights of the last 2 weeks. I mean, obviously there were more. There's been 10 reviews in the last 2 weeks, but I'm not going to go through all of them for you. I do have yet another special podcast coming on Saturday where I want to talk about Spotify, because I've been doing a lot of thinking and some research, and I know we have endorsed Spotify in the past, and I'm not saying that I don't anymore, but I think that people might be using it the wrong way. And I think that people I know have justified using it in a certain way, and what they're really doing is just justifying not buying music anymore. So that's something to think about, but I'll get back to that on Saturday. So really that's all I needed to cover today. If you have any questions, you have any albums you want reviewed, or you just want to, tell me I'm wrong about an album, feel free to do so. Because we're always looking for comments. Feel free to leave them on our Facebook site or shoot us an email, sorryeternalblog@gmail.com. Got a full slate of reviews coming up again this week from every corner of the fucking metal globe and every style you could imagine. We're covering it all. And I know Brian is really excited. His review this week is the band Ade, A-D-E, and their album Spartacus. It's traditional death metal done with Roman-style instruments, and right up his alley. I'll just say that. It's right up his alley. So keep an eye out for those reviews, and keep an eye out for that Spotify podcast on Saturday. And guys, just keep fucking reading. We're so close to 100,000 views. It's fucking disturbing. So I will catch you guys next week.